Welcome to the Midnight Gathering with Nancy Nightmare
and the Wizard.
Join us where the bizarre,
the mysterious, and the macabre meet.
And welcome to another episode, everybody.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you so much for being with us, and thank you for watching our previous podcast.
Yep.
We're excited.
Yep. Every Monday, new
Every
videos
Monday.
drop.
That's right. Monday at the strike of midnight, Sunday evening into Monday is when they drop.
Yes.
So make sure you subscribe, turn on your notification bell.
Yep. Share, like.
Make sure you stay up all night to listen to the new episode. Don't sleep. Become obsessed with it. Oh, no, don't do that. That's awkward.
Yeah, so we're really excited for this one, right?
We are. Tell us about what we're going to be talking about. And spoilers ahead, people. This is a new movie, so be alerted. Don't say I didn't tell you.
In this episode, we will be discussing the Wolfman. Oh. Lee Wynell's contemporary take on the classic Universal monster, starring Christopher Abbott and Julia Garner. The film explores themes of family trauma, transformation, and primal fear of losing oneself. We'll discuss the plot, performances, and how this adaptation stands apart from its predecessors, while examining the personal influences that shaped its creation.
I got to tell you, I was real excited about this one. I'm a huge werewolf fan.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've written some songs about werewolves. Werewolf Love is one of the ones that I like to perform the most. Full Moon Tonight. I'm a prolific werewolf
Shameless
lover.
plug. I like it.
Not a plug, just the fact that just do go listen to it. Now it's a plug. But you're not as big of a werewolf fan as I am.
That is correct.
I don't know what it is about it. The monster inside. I like that. I like that concept of the beast inside that's just tearing at your skin, trying to get out.
Yeah, I'm more of a vampire person, but Nancy's definitely the werewolf person.
Yeah, you're more sophisticated than I am.
Yeah.
I just want to howl at the moon or rip all my clothes off, chase down someone and attack. Wow. Maybe we'll edit that out. I don't know.
Now, what's interesting is several years ago, there were talks of Universal rebooting the monster movies. I don't recall what they were going to do. I'm not sure if they had anything fully fleshed out, but The Mummy was supposed to be the first of the monster universe that
Controversial
happened.
take here. I liked The Mummy with Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
I like Tom Cruise.
I thought it was a pretty good movie.
I thought it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And then we watched The Invisible Man.
Yeah.
Loved that.
Yeah.
Also by the same director and writer. So
No. Also a huge Saw fan, right?
I'm not a huge Saw fan.
What? You don't like stuff films?
I don't stuff films. You mean snuff films?
That's what I said, snuff films.
Oh, you said snuff films. Okay. I was like stuff films. I think that's a different type of film.
I like Saw 1, but trying to get through like all of the films is a little rough. And I tried to do it like one afternoon.
Yeah,
Don't
that
recommend
was
it.
really, I was like, I can't, you're going where I cannot follow.
Yeah, I mean, if you're, I guess, a sadist, you must really enjoy watching people being tortured and killed, but it was pretty brutal.
I know some lovely people, and I'm probably some of you listening who watch these movies with torture, horror, and you wouldn't know it.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a thrill. Maybe it's like how I feel watching horror or getting chased by somebody with a chainsaw at Universal Horror Nights. It's like a thrill, and it's in a safe place.
No.
So that's fine. But it's just, for me, I'm too sensitive of a little flower for that. I can't do it.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I tried. I think I got up to 3 midway, and I was like, all right, I'm done.
Yeah, so much for Nancy Nightmare, huh? But the first one, phenomenal. And I am going to watch Jigsaw. I kind of avoid them because I'm a little bit of a wimp when it comes to the Saw movies.
Yeah.
I've never admitted this publicly. This is why I just didn't talk previously, because, I can't take everything. Oh, God, if there's a dog involved or an animal death, no, I can't do that either.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's just watching humans being tortured for many hours on end was, after a while, I was just like tapping out. I was like, all right, I'm done. I can't.
I love supernatural horror.
Yeah, I do
the
too.
most.
I like
folk horror.
Good vampire stories, monster movies,
werewolves,
sci-fi horror.
Yeah,
yeah. Things that are a little too real.
Yeah, I'm afraid of humans, as I've said before. So, and so this one though, this is a supernatural one.
Yep.
to some extent. I mean, how do we define supernatural? It's a virus.
Yeah.
Lycanthropy, I guess. But film synopsis, Blake Lavelle, played by Christopher Abbott, a San Francisco husband and father, inherits his remote childhood home in rural Oregon after his estranged father, Grady, is declared dead. Blake, along with his wife, Charlotte, played by Julia Garner, and daughter, Ginger, played wonderfully by actress Matilda Firth, who's British, another undercover Brit, moves into the farmhouse seeking a fresh start.
Shortly after their arrival, they are attacked by an unseen creature. As the night progresses, Blake begins to exhibit strange behaviors, leading to a horrifying transformation into a werewolf. Charlotte must confront the terrifying reality of her husband's metamorphosis to protect their family. So, yeah.
Yeah, so they were actually kind of on their way to divorce before this. They were in the city. Blake is a stay-at-home dad. He's a writer, but he's a stay-at-home dad. He takes care of little Ginger full-time. Yeah. Where Charlotte, his wife, seems to have some sort of high-powered office job. I don't know. I don't remember what she did specifically.
It's interesting. I didn't know that they were in San Francisco. For some reason, watching the film, I thought maybe they were in Portland.
And I thought they were in New York. I see a city, and I just assume New York.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I just didn't recognize the city right away because L.A. rules, of course.
Wow. Yeah, I guess I see city, and because of her power suit, I just assumed New York.
Oh, yeah, I didn't think it was San Francisco, but that was interesting.
Yeah, well, it's a lot to take in when we're trying to review these movies, and we've only seen them once at the movie theater.
Right.
It's easy. I'm just so dazzled by the film and the sound and everything and so excited to be there that it's easy to miss little things like that.
And without getting too far ahead, I wanted to ask you, what was your impression of that opening scene where the ants are swarming the wasp?
Yeah, I didn't get it.
I didn't get that either.
We're wicked smart.
I was like...
Well, I mean, wolves are pack animals. So maybe there's some, the pack. I don't know. I'm stretching here, baby. I have no idea.
But
I will say the opening scene in general, like the whole scene, the flashback scene was my favorite part of the whole movie.
Yes.
Wow. Grady, I think his dad, in the woods with a young Blake.
Yeah.
And they're hunting in the beautiful wilderness. And then the wolf shows up, and it's so scary. And with the sound, I don't feel that this would have been the same experience watching it at home.
Right.
You have to be in the movie theater for this.
Because of the sound effects, too.
Oh, the sound, and I'm like getting goosebumps talking about it, because I thought it was so scary.
Yeah.
This little kid, and obviously, anytime they put a child in peril in a movie.
Yeah. It's up there with like dogs.
Well, it's not as high as dogs, frankly, for me. But... God forbid it's a cat.
Wow, ladies and gentlemen. Wow.
Headline, Nancy Nightmare hates children. I don't hate children. But, it's seeing something small and kind of helpless put in peril is horrible.
Right.
So when he was a kid, to see him be put in peril was very difficult.
Yeah, and the cinematography, too. Like, you can feel how wondrous and potentially dangerous the woods can be. I mean, we currently live in a very rural state, so sometimes it could feel very overwhelming with all of these big trees and all of these sounds, and realizing that you're out there completely by yourself.
Listen, I don't go out there, so I don't know what you're talking about. We live in the biggest city in our state, so this is as close to the wilderness as I'm getting.
Right.
There's a little nature walk I do in the city.
Yeah.
I don't trust it. And that's one of the main characters of this is the wilderness.
Right.
And it was so funny because they were having marital problems. So Blake's solution is to drag his family to the middle of nowhere where there's no cell service, there's no internet.
Right.
He grew up knowing it was dangerous.
I was just going to say that.
This is the thing that kind of drives me crazy, is that he knew that these wolf creatures were out there.
Yeah.
He was like 11 in the flashback, I would guess.
Maybe he was hoping to like reconnect with his family, sharing that same experience in the treehouse, being potentially attacked by the werewolf.
Yeah, so I think that the lesson I learned in this movie is if you're having marital problems, Solve them in the freaking city. Don't go to the wilderness.
But I don't know if it was stated throughout the film, but I think also because he had gotten the death certificate officially,
He did.
claiming that his father had passed, it was like a way for him to seek closure with his past.
Well, don't drag your wife and child
That's
into
usually
it.
how it always goes. It's like, Chevy Chase's character, National Lampoon's, like having the ultimate family vacation, leading to all kinds of like hijinks.
I just want to let it be known that if anyone suggests to me, just tuck this away, we're going to go live in the wilderness for a couple months. That's the end of the relationship for me.
Yeah. So if anybody is hoping to, mend bridges with a close loved one, friends, take them to a potentially dangerous situation. Nothing like a little trauma bonding to bring those people together.
That's a good point. It actually worked.
It's like war.
She told him she loved him. It worked.
Yeah.
But unfortunately,
Yeah.
But I will say it was cheaper than divorce.
Right.
Yeah. That was going to be a very costly
And
divorce.
she got rid of him indefinitely. I mean, he couldn't even pay child support, right? Because he was unemployed. So you don't really need him.
My God. We are horrible, horrible people.
She was like, this guy, oh my God.
Hey, listen, he was a homemaker. He took care of that child full time. He did all the cooking and cleaning.
Yeah.
The man had a job.
Yeah.
He had a complex about it, though.
Oh, yeah, he did. There was hints of resentment.
And it was cool how they did it because you could see hints of his father's temper in him.
Yes.
Which I thought was very cool. And it also tied him to the werewolf story really well, that hidden rage.
I read it as being like passive aggressive.
Well, yeah, he was being passive aggressive.
Right. Like he didn't have like the guts to just go full on, so he would just like get upset. But to his credit, he did have a point though. Like that one scene where his wife comes in and she's just carrying on with her work conversation at home. And he politely asked her to please take the conversation outside. And she just ignored him. And I liked like the role reversal, right? Because that was usually like the man who was so focused on work and his career. He just totally ignored his family.
That's a really good point. But I'd also like to point out she was probably paying all the bills, responsible for the health insurance,
right. So
and she had a big weight on her shoulders. And guess what? She was a writer too.
Right.
And so he says to her, you should go back to writing. And it's like, well, who's going to pay the bills?
Baby.
I wanted to add a baby. I always like to add a baby at the end of my sentences.
She's like, bitch, I pay all the bills in here. If I want to have a conversation related to work, I'm going to have it. So you could just piss off, buddy.
In her power suit.
In her power suit.
Oh, yeah. Which reminds me, did the costume designers hate her? Do you think? Because the things that they put this beautiful woman, Julia Garner, in, these high-waisted mom jeans with the tucked-in flannel.
Well, I think we wanted to see her as like the powerful working
such
mom,
a depressing outfit,
who was also very isolated, right? Because she also lacked the connection between her and her daughter.
Yeah. So it's a beautiful actress. She did look very young, I noticed. I actually was like, what's the age difference between these two? And I looked it up. It was only like 8 years. But maybe that's why the costume designers chose to put her in some more matronly costumes. The high-waisted, the LL Bean looking outfit.
I didn't get that impression. I just thought she was a very career-focused person, very successful person, but also under a lot of pressure. And I think the clothing and her vibe all communicated.
It was appropriate, and they did a good job. But I was just kind of like, oh, it's hard to come from Nosferatu's costumes to Wolfman's costumes. Right. I was like, why would they do this to her?
Yeah.
But I guess what would I have done? I remember Dolly Parton was in this movie. I'm just side note. Where she was a gospel choir director or something, and they actually had like a form-fitting gospel robe where it was like skin tight and it showed her figure.
Do you think she made that decision to have it?
Oh, hell yeah, it was hilarious. I loved it.
She's like, I don't want to look like I'm wearing like a sack.
Yeah, I would do the same thing. So I would probably be a more difficult actor than Julia Garner was. She did the right thing and put on the flannel.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So you're referring to the flannel outfit when she was out in the woods.
Yeah, well, that was one of them, yeah.
Oh, yeah, she was in her country outfit.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, can't you do country a little cuter? I'm not going to spend the whole podcast talking about the flannel. I'm sorry. She looked like she was having a hard time. you know.
Yeah.
There are a few themes in this movie that are serious and not flannel related. Generational trauma. The film delves into the impact of familiar relationships and inherited trauma as Blake grapples with his father's legacy and his own transformation.
Blake's involuntary transformation symbolizes the fear of losing oneself and harming loved ones, a central theme in body horror. And I think that was like one of the biggest takeaways from the film is he's like struggling with potentially damaging his child. And a lot of parents, I mean, maybe are conscious of this. I don't know. Some are, you know, that they're so overprotective to the point that they're hurting their kids. And that was what he was so desperately afraid of. But he still took him out to the woods anyway. So he was...
Yeah, I know. He also had this internal rage that his father had, which came out in a scene where he was walking with Ginger down the street in New York. And he told her to get down. And she didn't listen. And then she ran into some person who seemed a little off.
No.
And put herself in danger. And he yelled at her.
No.
Which, you know what? Honestly, maybe I'm messed up. But I didn't think it was completely wrong that he yelled at her for not listening to him. They're in a, well, see, it wasn't New York, San Francisco.
Yep.
They're in a big city. She's got to listen to him.
Why didn't he yell at the guy for yelling at his kid?
Right. I would have socked that guy.
What a wimp.
Right in the gonads.
Yeah. I would have been like, hey, buddy, only I get to yell at my kid. You don't get to yell at my kid.
Right.
What the hell's wrong with you?
She had little fairy wings. What's wrong with you?
I mean, I totally would have wolfed out. Like, I would have been like, rah, rah.
Ew. Okay. That was a lot. Yeah, so I didn't think he was totally wrong, but I appreciated that he was keeping his anger in check. He didn't want to make her feel the way he felt as a kid.
I would have told him, pick on somebody your own size, buddy.
Well, he was off. He wasn't okay.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
All the crayons weren't
Wait,
in the
did
box.
he yell at the guy or no?
No, I don't think he... Oh, maybe he did. I don't remember.
I think he kind of
He gave
said...
him a little something.
He said something to her, but...
What are you going to do? You going to spend your time in the street arguing with somebody who has like a mental health condition? Is that what you're suggesting?
No, I just couldn't remember.
Oh.
But I think instinctually, right? Like, it's not... I mean, once you go into fight or flight, reasoning is out the window. So the lizard brain takes over.
Yes, I've seen you before.
So,
yes.
So I think my inclination would be to go after the aggressor, not the child.
I do know that about you, yes.
Yeah. So
there would have not been a lot of thought at that moment if somebody had,
Yeah.
I've seen you toss people before. Okay. We'll save that for another podcast, though. But the generational trauma, I did think that they portrayed that very well in this film.
Yeah.
That there was that great scene that we just discussed where he was trying to control his rage. And then he got notification that his father had passed. And he brought his family on this journey with him to try to reconnect. And then he had the beast inside come out and he had to control that again.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, spoiler, fighting his father again.
Right.
So it was just like a really full circle movie. It was almost a very psychological thriller as opposed to kind of like a monster film.
Yeah, to Lee Wynell's credit, he wrote something very original because it didn't have the regular werewolf tropes. Like the full moon didn't have anything to do with the transformation. The sequences from him changing from a human to a werewolf was very, very realistic, if that could happen.
It was slow.
It was slow, right.
I did laugh at the werewolf quite a bit. He looked just like messed up.
Well, yeah. I mean, he clearly was sick.
Yeah, he just looked like parts were falling off, and it was just kind of lumbering at them, and it wasn't. I didn't feel that the character design was very scary. Personally,
I don't know. To me, I liked the way that sound was used, so it gave you the perspective of how he was changing and how sound was like affecting his hearing.
Yep.
And then the way he saw things.
That was cool.
Yeah, it was really, really cool.
That
very,
was
very
cool.
unique because we haven't seen anything like that. We always see as like a third party perspective of the person transforming and then going on a bender.
Well, I feel like I actually have seen it from their perspective before, and I can't recall offhand what movie did it. But I do agree with you. That was very effective the way they did that.
Right.
Yeah, I think we all have a monster inside, and this fear of loss of control is very real. Have you ever struggled with feeling that, trying to control yourself, control your shadow self like that?
Yeah, I mean it's the survival mechanism, right? We either fight or we run. And so yeah, you know.
Yeah, I think
sure.
I'm a runner. I think I'm a runner.
Oh.
I mean, I'm a fighter too, but I think my first instinct, I'm a very fast lady. Just get the hell out of there.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And I grew up in cities, so like I always think everybody's weird, and I'm always like, I've always got, you say hi to me and start talking to me, I'm a little bit like,
Yeah.
what do you want?
Yeah. Yeah. I personally think that cities are scarier than being out in the woods, but that's just me.
No, there's no ticks in the cities. I'm not going to get Lyme disease walking down the street.
That's true. But overall, I mean, humans are very unpredictable.
Logically, I agree with you. Statistically, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Viscerally, I disagree 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was really interesting when they when what's the name of the main character? Blake. Played by Christopher Abbott, where he sees his childhood friend when he's making his way back. Yeah, Derek. And he's got the rifle, and his wife is like totally freaked out. She's like, "Oh my God, he's got a gun!" And for anybody who lives like in rural communities, I mean, it's pretty common to see people, especially during hunting season, to be wandering through the woods with shotguns.
Yeah, Robert. He looked at me and said, "That would be you." During that part.
Yeah.
Yeah, Wizard here looked at me during that part and said, "That would be you."
Yeah.
And he was right. I would have freaked me out. This guy, he looked a little worse for the wear, and he's got this big gun over his shoulder. And they were unarmed, too. I would like to point out that Blake brought his family to the wilderness unarmed.
Right. Yeah. Well, I don't know if, he did. To my knowledge, I don't think he had a gun at home at all.
Well, maybe the gun laws in Oregon are much different than they are, in some states. Because here, everybody has a gun.
Right.
And some hunting states, everybody has a gun.
Right.
So I just thought, if you're going to bring your family into the wilderness, maybe be armed.
Yeah.
Call me crazy. There's bears out there.
Yeah. And you're going to need grenades and a grenade launcher.
That's what I would need to bring me into the woods.
And like Rambo.
I mean, why am I thinking of Elvira dressed like Rambo? That would be me going into the woods on an expedition.
I mean, you do, like, right? Because there's bears, there's coyotes, chupacabras. Humans.
But Derek ended up being a pretty good guy. He was trying to lead them to his dad's house.
Yeah.
He paid the price for his kindness.
Yeah.
That was a great scene, too.
Yeah.
The beginning of the movie was really scary. It was hard because there's only, the three main characters, 4 if you count his father.
Yeah.
So, and they're isolated.
Right.
So there's only so much you can do. It didn't feel long, but there were some scenes where I'm like, okay, is anything else going to happen?
Right. Yeah, I think my only complaint is lack of body count. But
you always just want everybody dead, though.
But he does make up with it with some really heinous scenes where he's cannibalizing himself.
Oh, that was great. A flashback to Saw.
Yeah. And I swear there was a scene where lights are panning over like what looked like a bridge area, and there was like there was a nod to Saw, the character that's on on the tricycle.
Oh. I thought that she was wearing a moon necklace in the beginning, Charlotte. It looked like, to me, a moon necklace.
I'm not talking about that. Like later in the film, there's like a scene where they're like looking for him. I can't remember.
Gotcha.
And there almost seemed like there was a painting on the actual wall as it scanned through. And obviously I couldn't ask them to stop and rewind that section.
I wish we could.
Right.
I wish that they would release movies simultaneously in the theaters and at home.
Yeah.
So crazy folk like us could watch them in the theater and then come home and rent them at home.
Yeah. But that was a nice little Easter egg there. It was like, ooh, because there wasn't a whole lot of symbolism throughout the film. It's a lot of sound, isolation, suspense. Like there's this ongoing anxiety about it. Is he going to kill us? Should we kill him? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Once they hit the road, the tires hit the pavement, and he started transitioning.
Yeah.
It wasn't really there. You're right. There wasn't a lot of symbolism to me.
Right.
There was just a lot of like isolation and fear.
Yep.
But, let's see, Christopher Abbott underwent extensive makeup and prosthetics to portray his character's transformation. I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad that wasn't a natural look for him. With practical effects enhancing the visceral horror. So, a lot of makeup involved in this film, and that must have been hours in the chair every day.
Yeah, very little CGI for sure.
With the actual werewolves, I would say that's probably true. Now, I'm sure some of the bigger scenes, like the truck, in the tree in the beginning, and a lot of those things might have been CGI, I'm sure.
Right.
I don't think they really did that.
No, but the makeup.
The makeup, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the film was shot in New Zealand, utilizing its dense forests to create an atmosphere of isolation and impending danger.
So don't get caught in the forest in New Zealand.
Oh, it was beautiful. It really was gorgeous. I can see why he would have wanted to bring his family there to see it.
Right.
If he hadn't known that it was full of freaking werewolves. Dude, did he block it out?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was interesting because after his encounter with his dad, he heard his dad on the CB talking to a friend of his saying, hey, I've seen this thing. It's real. We need to go out there and get it.
So he knows that the woods are dangerous.
Yeah.
Or maybe, you know what, to his credit, maybe he kind of semi-blocked it out and thought his dad was just off his rocker. Because he did go no contact with his dad.
Yeah, but was it because of that experience or because his dad was just a hard ass?
It could have been both. Yeah. But maybe he thought that he was just paranoid.
That could be. But, I mean, he saw it too.
Yeah, but maybe he thought it was a bear. And that his dad was just paranoid.
But that's what his dad told him it was. And then later he found out that...
Right, that's what I'm saying. Maybe he thought his dad was kind of crazy.
Good point.
He might not have believed it was a werewolf. No. I mean, to be fair, what rational person would... I would. I'd be like, werewolf? Okay, got it. Not going back.
Yeah, yeah. I think growing up in my household, they would have been like, hey, there's a freaking werewolf out there. Don't go out there.
Yeah.
That's not a bear. That's a werewolf.
It was sure. Chupacabras out there. Don't go... I don't know. People make decisions in horror movies, and it's a good thing that they make bad decisions, or we wouldn't have horror movies.
Right. So some folks had mixed reviews regarding the film. Wolfman's received mixed reviews, with some praising its emotional depth and performances, while others critiqued its pacing and execution.
I would agree with that.
I think maybe they wanted a body count.
Well, the pacing... It did start to feel a little bit slow. I did check my watch once or twice during some of it.
Yeah.
I have to admit. But I would still go. I'm still really glad I went to see it. I think it was beautiful in the theater. It's a very dark movie, visually dark, which is the trend with films, as we know.
Yeah.
And they're in the woods, so it makes sense. But I think I would have had a hard time seeing all the detail and hearing all the detail.
Right. And the cinematography, Lee Wynell definitely has like a signature style in his films. He does a really great shot of sucking you into that world. I felt like I was there most of the time watching this.
I did too.
No.
And that's pretty much all I ask for a film when I go to the movie theaters. Yeah. I want to be transported for a couple hours.
Yeah, so mood for sure. You feel it. You can feel the density, the heaviness of being in those woods and potentially being attacked by this thing.
You don't have to tell me twice. I'm staying the hell out of the woods.
No. There was something that you had mentioned about breath.
Oh, yeah. So I noticed in this film, in the opening sequence that I was so enamored with, that Lee Wynell used the breath of the creature over the edges of the treehouse shelter that they were hiding in. You just saw the breath of the creature over the edge, and I'm giving myself chills again because it was really creepy and cool. And I noticed that in The Invisible Man, he did the same thing with The Invisible Man when Elizabeth Moss and The Invisible Man were outside. You could see his breath behind her. Yeah. And it's so effective. It's scaring me even talking about it.
Yeah. To my knowledge, I don't think I've ever seen anybody else do something like that.
I don't know if they have, but it was very effective in this movie and in The Invisible Man, I thought.
Yeah.
You just knew it was there.
Breath is like his signature lick if you were to compare him to a guitar player.
Okay. It's his pentatonic riff.
Yep. Yeah. You know, like Albert King's got his, Jimi Hendrix got one, Lee Wienell has the breath.
Right. I have mine
Cinematography.
for sure.
Yeah.
I use the same phrases over and over again, I've noticed.
Yeah.
As for more critical reception, Peter Travers of ABC News noted that while Wienell's previous work was riveting, this film felt like a limp, lazy excuse for thought-provoking horror.
Wow.
What a mean thing to say.
Wow. Critics appreciated the film's exploration of domestic abuse and generational trauma despite occasional pacing issues. I thought that was interesting, for sure.
I didn't think it felt like a limp, lazy excuse for thought-provoking horror.
No, I don't think so.
Peter Travers of ABC News.
No.
What's your film like, Peter Travers of
Yeah.
ABC News?
I like the idea of exploring the generational trauma, how, you know, his dad doing what he thought was best for his son, causing his son to feel,
to pull away from him.
yeah, to pull away from him, maybe develop insecurities, and then the father doing the same thing to his daughter by taking her up into the woods and exposing her to those dangers.
You know, this whole movie wouldn't have happened if everybody stayed the hell out of the woods.
No. Well, I'll tell you, like if this had been like made by like a Cuban American, they'd be like, "Hey, I'm taking you to the woods to learn a lesson. You got this will teach you to appreciate the things you have in life, like being alive."
All right. And if you survive, then you come out with a great lesson.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm doing this because I love you.
Let's talk about your generational trauma, shall we?
And if you survive, well, guess what? We're gonna love each other that much more.
Trauma bond.
And if you die, well, we'll have a great memory of us bonding together.
That's a good point. Maybe that was Blake's goal with all this. He had some strange bonding pattern.
Yeah, I mean, to a degree, like we do live a very sheltered life in the United States. I mean, there are things that we don't personally have to deal with on a daily basis, like just surviving or eating. In some cases, there are
You've
people.
never taken the subway in Los Angeles regularly.
Okay,
clearly.
certain. All right, people who live in New York City or San Francisco who've got to deal with daily commutes or different.
Los Angeles. I took public transportation every single day, as you know.
Yeah, it's pretty scary.
You have to have different survival skills to live in a city. And that was one thing I actually disagreed with. That guy, Derek, his childhood friend that he met in the woods, was basically saying they were soft because they're from the city. Okay, why don't you go navigate the subway system?
Yeah.
And you don't get a gun, right? You just have to use your hands and your wits.
Right. And try to survive the streets of San Francisco.
Yeah. Or whatever major city in the United States.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So listen,
LA
buddy.
at night, like downtown LA, scary.
You know, I've heard a lot of people who live in the country around here say they won't drive into the city because it's overwhelming for them and it's too much. This isn't even a major city we live in. This is a tiny little college town. They can't handle the traffic here.
Oh, yeah.
So don't tell me I'm not hardy.
Yeah, and the purge is not going to happen in rural communities. It's going to happen in the cities.
That's right. So city folk have our own
Like
toughness.
too many damn people.
Right.
Every-
Now, if you put me in the wilderness, I'm not going to know what the hell to do.
No. You just have to worry about that one werewolf. But
Yeah. Or a pack of them. We don't know if there were more of them. There had to have been because somebody changed his father.
right.
So, or maybe the new werewolf always kills the old one. We don't know.
Right.
There wasn't any lore in this movie.
I can't help still thinking about the bee and the ants and trying to figure
Yeah, that
out,
really bothered you. You mentioned that before, too.
like, what does that have to do with the story? I
Yeah.
don't know. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it does. I'll have to look into it.
Yeah, I'd like to point out I also annoyed you because you asked me like what my favorite werewolf movies are, and I said Teen Wolf.
That was a pretty scary movie.
Just to be an asshole. It is. I love that movie.
What's your favorite werewolf movie? Teen Wolf.
Michael J. Fox was a revelation in that film.
Yeah.
Adorable.
Yeah.
I didn't say Twilight. Could have been worse. Although I was Team Jacob, I have to say.
Oh, gotcha.
I'm a werewolf fan.
I have to go with Underworld.
Oh, hell yeah.
No.
By the
stylish
way,
vampires.
I have not watched all the Twilight movies. I couldn't take them, but I did read the books.
Okay.
So you're not familiar with the... We did try to watch the first one together when it came out.
God.
Whew.
Yeah. A Lost Boys, it is not.
No, we really tried too.
Yeah.
And I like a lot of junk food entertainment.
Yeah, I even remember watching Interview with a Vampire and being annoyed with Louis' character too. Like,
oh yeah,
nobody likes
sure.
a whining vampire.
Who's not annoyed with Louis? But it's a great movie and it's a great book.
I struggle to eat. He's like that child that just won't eat.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you got to look at the positive in life, right? You're not in control of your circumstances all the time, so you're a vampire now.
Yeah.
Eat the human.
Yeah, just eat him.
Yeah. So, in conclusion, Wolfman offers a fresh perspective on a classic tale intertwining personal loss with horror elements to explore deep-seated fears and family bonds. While opinions on its execution vary, the film's attempt to humanize the monster narrative provides a thought-provoking experience.
Yep.
It was a great movie. I left the movie theater happy that I'd seen it.
Yep. Me too.
Yeah.
I felt like it was like a fun monster movie. And as I thought more about it, I could see the relationship situations and how it tackles things like generational trauma and the potential for inflicting that on the next generation. So I thought that was very clever.
I gotta say though, I thought he was a goofy looking werewolf. I just did. I thought they were goofy looking werewolves.
How would you like your werewolf?
A little buff, a little hairy. Rugged.
Yeah.
Like Werewolf Love by Nancy Nightmare and the Wizard. No, I thought he could look more wolfy and not just like he has parts falling off of him.
Right.
I know that what they were doing was to show the illness of it all.
Right.
And they did a good job of that. And it was really realistic. But I just wanted, maybe he was only partially through his transition to werewolf.
Yeah, we don't know.
But he didn't look much like a wolf to me.
Right.
And he was shiny.
Yeah.
Why was his face so shiny?
Well, I think like when people get sick, they get kind of clammy looking. And I think that's maybe what they were trying to convey.
Yeah, and his fur hadn't come in yet.
Right.
So he had lost all his hair and his fur hadn't come in yet.
Right. Yeah, like he looked like he had a disease. Right?
Yeah, and his nails when they fell off, that was cool.
Right.
I know. I just I like a romanticized werewolf, I guess. Yeah.
I thought that was really funny.
That was really cool.
He's like, I'm really hungry and I want to eat something, but I guess I'll just
nibble on myself.
I'll nibble on myself.
Yeah.
I was hoping he would eat one of the relatives, but there was only two of them. Maybe if they added another kid.
Should have eaten the child.
He has like a foot in his mouth.
I'm amazed he was able to resist as long as he did. And I guess that was a testament to his love for his family.
Yeah.
That was what it was supposed to be.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
It was a good movie. Recommended. Don't expect. I don't know. I mean, when you go to the movies, it depends on what you want from it. Yeah. Do you want every film you see to be like a life-changing experience where it's absolutely phenomenal? Then you have to be really picky about what you go to see.
Right.
Do you just want a nice 2 hours and a few scares and a fun time? Yeah, that's what I want.
I thought it was a solid film. I definitely would recommend the people to watch. I also wanted to mention how his dad was trying to actively kill him. So, like, what he thought was probably already true.
Well, to be fair, his dad was a werewolf.
Well, right. I mean.
So, yeah, of course he was trying to kill him. I don't think he was trying to kill him when he was human.
Right.
He was trying to keep him safe. He was just kind of a dick about it.
So there was only one body count in this film, right? His neighbor.
No, Derek, yeah, for humans.
Yeah.
Well, and Blake.
So there's two. So if you're new to horror movies, I think this would be a good starter film.
There's three. There's Grady, the father, but we don't know. We don't count him really.
Right.
We don't know if we count him.
Right.
Yeah. I think this is a mild horror movie. It's like a thriller.
Yeah.
It's kind of a psychological thriller and it's a monster movie, but it's a psychological thriller.
Right. And then it was interesting how then the mom and the daughter shared that moment that he and his father shared at the very end. I thought that was really cool.
Okay, so that did make me laugh. So Charlotte, the mom, was worried that she wasn't connecting with her daughter. She wasn't the favorite. Gosh, I know how that feels. We have a cat named Oliver. Greatly prefers him. And apparently the solution is to get you killed because by the end, Charlotte and Ginger were bonded.
Yeah.
And now she's the favorite parent because bye-bye Blake.
Yeah. So for any moms out there who are currently struggling with their relationship with their children, what you need to do is kill your partner and then...
Well, get him killed.
Get him killed. And
Well,
then,
she did kill him, but... Yeah.
Yeah, so like, at that moment where they're sharing that scene together, she's like, oh, he's finally out of the picture.
Finally gone. He was kind of a little bitch. He was a little bit.
Crying, complaining. She's like, how many more times is he going to tell me what I'm thinking? Good Lord.
It was a little overwrought. The whole, what am I thinking? The little scene between the father and daughter. Okay, I get it. They're cute together.
Yeah, as you get, yeah. Like, oh my God, here we go again.
Are you going to kill anybody or what? For God's sakes.
Yeah.
Just kill. I want you to just eat some freaking humans. Is that too much to ask from a werewolf movie?
You know what would have been neat if somehow like they thought they killed him or they got away from him, but he like snuck in the trunk of the car and they brought him back to San Francisco and eats people in San Francisco? That would be a good twist.
Now it's like a werewolf in San Francisco. We're turning it into like a funny horror movie now. So, well, anyway, highly recommended. You know, fun movie. Glad they're making the Universal horror movies.
Yep.
I don't mind remakes of classic characters personally. You know, space them out by a couple years. Do another one in a few years. I'll go see it.
Yep.
You know?
Sure.
So, and we can't wait to go to the theater next and see what's going to come out.
For sure.
So we hope that you'll meet us again at the Midnight Gathering. Until next time, stay spooky.